Previously on The Mind's Eye. Take great care, friends, that you aren't doing the work of Big Brother in censoring, snitching, or reprimanding your fellow man just so that you can feel a sense of accomplishment for the sake of earning a merit badge that identifies you as a citizen of the world. If you have employed yourself to be a professional victim whose sole occupation it is to feel offended on behalf of others, I would recommend a reevaluation of your life's priorities. This, of course, assuming you even have a life or priorities in it.
1 hour later.
And now the conclusion.
You're traveling through another dimension. A third dimension intended to broaden narrow thinking. Free speech is the coin of this realm, and free thinkers reign supreme. It is the middle ground of light-hearted humor and shadow banning. It is more vast than any safe space, more timeless than infinite double standards. You've just crossed over into The Mind's Eye. On the one hand, what? A Jordan Peele-led classic sci-fi revival that didn't land with mainstream audiences and wasn't a selling point for the umpteenth crappy streaming service? From such a master of horror, but how can this be?
What are you laughing at?
Who could have seen this coming? But more importantly, who cares? On the other hand, good riddance. Seriously, do you even know of a coworker's siblings, neighbors, childhood best friends, dental hygienist, second cousin on his mother's side, drug-dealing baker who has seen a single episode of this show? Because if you do, what are your going rates for an 8-ball? This show was so inescapably reduced to such marginal importance that I wouldn't even have mentioned its meager existence, let alone cancellation, if not to be used as an excuse for that Porky Pig impression and that crack about snorting crack. I'm serious. Not only does this undeniably mark this glorified con man's first major flop on a resume that is fueled by hype and filled with tripe, but this is the third revival of the classic series and has the shortest run of any of the 4 versions. Less than half the number of the episodes of the last time they tried leeching off of the Twilight name almost 20 years ago. I remember 4 years ago, after the runaway hype train that was Get Out, along with publicizing that Jordan Peele is the horror genre's Steven Spielberg, Steve Jobs, and Jesus of Nazareth, claimed that overvalued movie was like a cinematic Twilight Zone episode. Well, how does it feel that when those keys to that pop culture kingdom were handed over to Peele, he flopped harder than Margot Robbie's solo outing? On the February 19th episode of WandaVision, it was revealed that the quirky neighbor was behind the strange events surrounding the Scarlet Witch's soap opera, proving in a shock, twist, swerve that it was, indeed, Agatha all along.
And I killed Sparky, too.
Because animal cruelty is in strict violation to the cartoon villain code of ethics, Human Resources Zero Tolerance is in full effect, and swift action has been taken. The dastardly rascal has been assigned a sponsor who specializes in responses to pet-related mishaps. Justice is served. We have these policies for a reason. The Disney Corporation, as a publicly traded company, abhors cruelty of any kind. We now shift gears to Tinseltown tabloids. Details regarding the untitled Predator 5 have come out. The film will be taking place not in space, not on a future Earth, but in the past. Screen Rant posts, Predator 5 will focus on a character named Key and her younger brother Tabe. Key is described as a tomboy who fights against gender norms to prove that she can be just as strong as any male Comanche warrior. This franchise dead end has been approved by Elizabeth Warren. This just in, not to be outdone. To culminate the Fox merger in grand fashion, the Queen from the Alien series has officially announced her coronation as a Disney princess.
This is my fight song.
She has already been fitted with a tiara and an origin story. After all, in the world of showbiz, one bad idea deserves a sequel. This report is brought to you by this week's sponsor, Fuck It All. Do the high standards of fan demand got you down? Fuck it all! Has the wellspring of nostalgia run dry, resulting in the impossibility of resorting to a franchise remake? Fuck it all! Has the soul-crushing reality set in that you haven't made a single worthwhile addition to a film series in what is quickly approaching the 35-year mark? Fuck it all! Side effects may include unoriginality, falling back on identity politics as a saving grace, enlisting Hollywood hacktivists, fan-base apathy, blurred sight or complete lack of vision, virtue signaling, skinning of ritualistic fashion, chest pain.
Time to play the game.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline 2, that's a mouthful, has developed team pulled. Since Hardsuit will no longer be working on the game, it won't be releasing this year. The publisher probably doesn't think it's inclusive or culturally sensitive enough. After all, when I'm tearing a girl's throat out as an undead bloodsucker to feast on her life force, I want to take the time to learn her trigger warnings and pronouns. Well, out with the PC and in with the AI. We're getting word now that the System Shock remake release date has been released. Folks, she's back.
I am Showdown.
CEO Stephen Kick of developer-publisher Night Dive Studio describes new dismemberment system, real-time lighting, and probably one of the more loved moments of the original game, cyberspace segments. The original had a dynamic music system that would change based on whether you were in combat or exploring. When you're exploring, it's a lot more atmospheric. As an added bonus, for those pre-ordering the game on Steam, GOG, or the Epic Games Store, you'll also be given Night Dive's upcoming System Shock 2 Enhanced Edition for free. Wow, imagine that! A proper remake with a port as a bonus instead of a DLC packaged as a full game. Take notes, Capcom! In our top story, The Miz as Johnny Cage. In a roster full of movie ripoffs, despite being based off Jean-Claude Van Damme, Johnny Cage never came within a country mile of living up to the muscles from Brussels. So, it is with great bewilderment that for 11 entries into the Mortal Kombat games, the developers tried to convince its fan base that this parody was anybody to be taken seriously. In point of fact, not even other combatants regard him as anything but comedy relief, and his in-canon character is indeed an ailing action star. So, yeah, Johnny Cage Tough Guy is about as legit as Cody Rhodes Sincere. Entered current WWE champion The Miz. This is what Johnny Cage is as a character. This pitch-perfect casting would be the video game equivalent of Ryan Reynolds' spot-on choice to play Deadpool. Don't try to sell me Johnny Cage as some real-deal cage fighter. He's a manicured narcissist to such a degree that he's basically a villain fighting alongside the heroes. He should be played by a cowardly egotist. By employing a B-movie A-lister to play a Z-grade celebrity, you might just find that it's a role of a lifetime. No one is arguing that it'd be award-winning, but it would have must-see written all over it. Plus, since when do wrestling fans quibble over something as trivial as awards? Especially fake ones.
That's all, folks.
Warn your friends.